Welcome to my program, Bashys Corner. We discuss issues and we interview people, we invite guests to talk about culture, religions, politics, any issue which mainstream media doesn't want, or maybe they don't want to cover that issue. But we do on my program. And to prove my point, later we will interview a very special guest, and then you will understand why I said what I said. Denmark has a very long tradition of art, film, literature, and theater. It has produced many international stars in these fields. But when you look around, you see the same faces again and again and again. There is very little presence of ethnic minority arts or artists, and the diversity is almost negligible. My next guest is a very special lady who has very cosmopolitan roots, passion for theater, and fire in the belly to do things for the society. And I also believe that she is a true humanist. She fervently believes in humanism as a philosophical issue, and for her, humanism seeks knowledge and ability to take decisions based on universal human values. And you should contemplate, given any situation one is in. And I am speaking about none other than Sananda. Sananda, it's such a pleasure and honor to have you on my program, and thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you, Bashy. It's a great honor for me to be here because you were one of my big heroes in my youth that I looked to and saw what you were writing in the papers and listened a lot to what you had to say 20 years ago in Denmark. So it's a great honor for me to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's start by asking about your beautiful name, because because people always ask me, what does Sananda Solaris mean, and why this name? What does it mean?
It comes from India, Pakistan, Hinduistic background.
Okay.
It's one of the gods, and it's actually a god that are later on in history being used as a temple goddess, priestess, to bring pleasure, to bring joy. So it's actually meaning joy, to create joy. It also is an obligation to fight for light, that you are not allowed to lean back and be lazy and fall back to darkness. You have to fight for light. Yeah.
And so it's an artistic name you took over?
No, I actually did it the whole way, but
right.
it's because my old name Veronica Kjær is linked to my family that I don't have any contact with today, and is linked to a background with a lot of beating and a lot of bad issues from school. I was one of the first half-blooded kids at my
But that's
area.
what I wanted to ask you. From your looks, these exotic, beautiful looks,
Thank you.
you don't look this typical Jensen Hansen.
No, and I guess, well, every time I meet a Danish person, I say, yeah, but you look Danish. But when I go to the streets, even not wearing this kind of clothes, people do recognize me as not Danish. Because being not Danish is also about how you move, how you present yourself, how you interact with people. And I'm very not Danish in that way. And it showed off even when I was very small and I was kind of stigmatized and isolated. So I can very much relate to refugees and foreign people coming to Denmark, because I kind of felt I was growing up as a foreign.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. But I want to come back to your profession. You studied at Danish elite National Theatre School. Was it difficult to get in with this, who you are?
It was extremely difficult, and it almost killed me to be there, because it was basically, there was a lot of judgmental attitude, because it's very old-fashioned, very conservative environment to be in. So being like me, I was, for example, not allowed to dress like this. I was not allowed to interact in any ethnical way. It would be seen as that I was a kind of a hippie or lazy or stupid or somehow, because coming out as another cultural behavior, if you are not aware of cultural differences in behavior and movement and speaking, it in Danish eyes will look like you're just behaving wrong. So there's a great unconscious thing going on in Denmark where they have no relation to the basics difference in culture.
But Denmark is supposed to be a very open society.
Oh yeah.
A society which accepts everybody, and we have Christiania, and we used to have a hippie revolution. We had 68's revolution. How come?
Yes, I think when you become too blinded with your own success, you start to lose a track of what's really going on. And the blindfoldness that is going on in Denmark, I think, is we have too many years leaned our back at the older generation that were in the Second World War and learned a lot. And we have had the flag of being so open and free and everything else that we didn't realize when Matrix actually hit us in the back. And we lost it all because, and this is where I find a lot of Muslim people very, very fascinating to speak with and very open, because they're living in times where they need to question their own morality and ethic all the time. Danish people didn't, they could be lazy, spiritual lazy, with no price to pay. And I see that this is the price we are paying now, that actually they believe they know, they believe they're open, but actually they're not. Because being open you need to move, you need to listen, you need to work. You need to go out and do something.
Sananda, you can be very easily a philosopher too. I mean, I'm amazed. After you completed your education, how did you start your professional career?
Well, I started actually up really hard. That I was trying to. I wanted to do the great classics, and I still want to do that. And it was really difficult because I want to integrate other classics from the Middle East or from other part of the world, and in Danish eyes, classics are only Western. There's no knowledge about, for example, when you go having a classical education on an instrument in Middle East, it sometimes takes 6 and 7 years compared to a Danish classic guitarist, for example, which will take 4 years. So you do not have the understanding that when you speak to somebody Arabic, for example, and you have a professor in Arabic literature, it means like a lot more literature than a Danish literature professor. So it's a very difficult area to step into, because very easy if you speak to a Danish, for example, professional theater director, they often would like to see themselves as some kind of white savior. They are going to save the refugees and integrate them and make these small, very nice, happy little refugees.
Even in the art world?
Yeah. They have no knowledge of what I see, and this is my big critique. Okay. It's very much about, oh, we are so happy, we want to do something, we want to do social work. So we use refugees, but we do not use the refugees for what they are. They are human, and some of them are artists, and some of them come with backgrounds that are so much deeper.
Okay, but for the last 20 years, you have also directed musicals, theater plays, and even directed Royal Danish Opera.
Oh yes.
You must be very multi-talented.
Oh no, you are flattering me so much.
No, I'm just.
I'm not. I'm just a director, and a director should be able to go in and out of different areas of the theater. And for me, with my background as a musician, actually, for me, music theater is basically it, and then being open to all kind of genre.
You talked about Arabic culture, Indian culture. You have also traveled extensively and studied other cultures, other religions, What were you looking?
But I was looking for something always. For me, it was about looking, what is it that we have in common that we do not acknowledge? And for me, working with many different artists from all over the world, where we do not discuss politics, where we let all this black and white go and go into a different spiritual exchange. What I was looking for was what is it we fight over? Why all these problems? And basically, what I found out is that we are all one. It sounds like a cliche, but that's really what it is. And there is no difference between us. And
so you started your own theater group.
Yeah.
Solaris Theater. Why?
Because I wanted the big issue in Denmark, because people have invited me to other countries to work many times, and I always said no. I chose to be without work. I chose to fight for what I was believing in here, because Denmark is really needing it. And what Denmark needs is not some flamboyant, something coming as a zoo and being put up. They need to integrate and work together with the noble people from out of the world, outside of this country. You just have to go north the border of Denmark. You will find geniuses that you have never heard of in Denmark, and I want to have them to come. We are living on a mansion that is a hotel. We want to. Right now, I'm invited as a guest of honor to a big theater festival by the king of it in Emiraterne, in Fujairah.
Okay.
And my goal is to get that festival to all of them come to Denmark. That would be amazing.
So that is one of the reason why you want to have all these performances here.
Yes, because what theater does normally is they maybe take one Greenlandic guy in to play the Greenlandic guy, or they take one black guy in to play the black guy. But we want to do something different. We want to bring these forces here and make them show what they really are, because Denmark doesn't know. Of course some does, but not many.
So would there be focus on the present society issues in Denmark?
Oh yes, the next performance we are doing is about exactly, we're building the whole story on the whistleblower Anders Kjærsgaard, that are
whistleblower.
Yeah, whistleblower, the guy who's whistleblowing on the lies within Iraq. And we want to put Pakistani refugees, musicians on the stage, and we want the Iraqi talk to be there. We want the real people being put on stage. Not
so how do you choose these themes?
I think it's pretty easy. If you are living, it comes when we open a paper. I'm driven by the same as you are, but I want to show it in an artistic way.
Sure.
We are living in a lie. We are living in a lot of lies where we go into wars, where we kill people, where we are amputating ourselves spiritually all over again and again and again. And the only way we can stop it is say no, or say let's go this way, or show the truth. Showing the truth is really an important thing for me.
And I also understand that in your coming production in Solaris Theatre, you want to use refugees and immigrants as also performers, as actors.
See,
can you find them?
Oh, it's not a problem to find people who want to join in, because people living in Aalstrup, that are one of the biggest refugee camps we have in Denmark, are absolutely under a lot of stress. What we are doing to these people has, in these 30 years I have been in and out of refugee camps, it's torture. You know, I can get so angry. We can talk about and give a Danish woman who's being bullied on her work 2 million kroner for being stigmatized, killed her and made her a depression. But we stigmatize these people over and over and over and treat them like animals and give them no hope, no life, no air, nowhere to go to. And we wonder why there's problems. That is the most stupid and arrogant and evil thing going on in Denmark these days.
But Sananda, the political parties say that these people come here for protection. We give them protection, but they have to go back once there is a peace in their countries. What's wrong with that?
I think what is wrong with it is that if you take a family up here and you have some kids, I have seen kids, you have too, all of us have, that are almost growing up from 0 to 10 in a refugee camp. What is this? How can we treat people like this? This is not okay. It is under no circumstances a way to do it. And they talk about jobs and they should do this and that. But what normal people that does not come in a refugee camp maybe doesn't know is that they make it almost impossible. The people like me that try to go in there and actually offer them a job, offer them praktik, and offer them what is possible, we see the consequences of all these laws. Right now it's almost impossible for them to do something because they're being kicked around Denmark from one day to another. This guy, I was supposed to stand here with a refugee. He was being kicked off to Jutland. So
he couldn't come.
No, and he wants to join. Yes. He wants to be in the theater. He wants to work here. He wants to build up his skills. And very easily and without a question, as the way this theater is going, we might very well have offered him a little job.
But Sananda, theater is art form. It cannot solve the refugee problem.
Well, the last performance we had a guy from Serbia who was very suicidal because he was being kicked out for the 3rd time, and he know when he returned as a Muslim in that part of Serbia, his parent would kill him. That was his background story, very war and very. very, very evil background with a lot of killing and dead people. So it was a desperate situation, and he was threatening himself and us with a knife. But when he was on the stage, he became the most amazing creature. He became his very present, his soul, his background, his religion, his everything, his sexuality became one, and he could relive it, and he could be who he truly were. And being a Muslim and being a homosexual and being from Serbia and all these contradictional, complex things, seeing that becoming one beautiful expression and him letting go of all these problems and just expressing himself is actually a healing thing. Maybe it's not normal praktik, but it's changing people's life.
So you believe in supporting integration on the local level, but why is a theater involved in social responsibility?
Because I don't see this as a social responsibility. I see it as a human. How can I do nothing? Who would I be if I was standing here talking about values, not able to do something about it? Denmark is a lot about talking, and I'm really happy to see, and a lot of people are starting to act now. Yeah. It's wonderful, and you must feel relieved too after all these years, seeing something is going on now, because we are many who have waited saying, why are people not doing something? Yes. So I don't see it as a social work. I also see, and I also know that, like you also know, that there's a lot of very well educated people on these refugee camps.
Sure. Yeah, we should use them. Yeah.
So this is not about social work.
No,
I know that some of these people are extremely knowledgeable, extremely talented. They have been theater directors or ballet dancers in their own home countries. So it's amazing forces sitting out there too.
I agree with you, because when I listen to the politician always talking about how much it's going to cost, and these people are not able to integrate, I just say, well, let them give a chance. I mean, let them prove what they can. Anyway, you have also been concentrating on a theme of a beautiful Inuit and a nice dark man in your place. Is it a conscious choice, or it just happened?
Well, in a way, it's let me put it like this. People that are coming from a colored background do have a better understanding of the purpose that I'm working for. So, of course, I end up being friends with people that actually does understand that what I'm saying is true.
They can relate to you.
Totally, and they understand the purpose and the importance. And I have a goal. I would like to have multicolored people, or people with colored background on stage, because you don't see it. So it is a purpose of this theater to give those kind of people a space, because exactly those two people are some of Denmark's biggest artists, but you don't see them a lot
in the
because
in the main theater.
No.
Then tell me, as a humanist, what kind of prejudices and would you like to work with, to take away those prejudices from the society?
Basically, what we're doing right now is the most evil thing that can go on. It's called populism. If you want to put people in a box, they will be that box. So you need to break that box all the time. And the basic of humanistic philosophy is that you need to meet the one person you stand in front of. It's not about being Muslim or Christian. It's Middle Age kind of thinking. I'm still wondering, why is this going on? It's so primitive. We should be able to move on now and actually be able to break down the barriers, but unfortunately I see those barriers are building up. So my biggest thing is to actually point a finger at everyone and say, you could be like that too. I could be like that too. So who are we to judge anybody? That is the judgmental behavior is my biggest issue thing
this
here.
Behavior, judgmental behavior, have you also experienced that?
Oh yes, a lot. Being not very Danish in that in the art world, I did. So of course I learned a lot about it.
Some people say that you can help refugees through learning language and finding work for them, and you're talking about theater.
But it's so funny because, we're laughing, and I think why we're laughing is because a lot of these refugees, they come up and they speak 7 fluent language, and it's the most easy thing in this world for them is to learn Danish, and the language is never a problem really, and this is what theater can prove again and again. You can do everything You don't need to. If you start up with a refugee and saying a refugee, even the word refugee, I don't like using it. It's a human. So you stand with a human that has problems, and the babies are still back in the war zone, and they lost their wife on the way up here in the ocean, and you stand there and demand from them that they should learn Danish. It is so childish and so un-Danish pedagogic that there's so much to say about it.
It's fine.
My thing is, of course you can integrate, and of course when you feel a meaningfulness being together with other people, that is the purpose. When you do that, when you put people that are stigmatized, isolated, post-traumatic stress, war refugees in a meaningful environment, of course they will bloom, of course something will happen.
So do you have any advice to the other theaters, maybe to follow some and help in this work?
I think the best advice I could give is please look up what white savior means and try to look yourself in the mirror and go with humbleness and visit the refugee camps and ask the people who they are and where they come from, instead of making up a story about them and pick out some people who can fit into that story. Go out there and don't seek the big victim stories about little Mohammed who has difficulties. Try to go and see the capacities, the great stories. There's so many amazing people sitting out there that bend over, give them some space, give some room for them to have something to say here.
You invited me to your last production, and unfortunately I was out of the country, I couldn't come. But have you planned new performances so we can come?
Oh yes, and I would really, I hope you really come, because this one I think you will enjoy. It's about, as I spoke about before, Denmark's whistleblower from the army that are pointing to a lot of lies that we are living under, and he's standing together with the victim, the translator from Iraq. There's been a big case about it in Denmark, how we let these people become tortured for 70 days. So what we will do is we will build the story about a soldier that are having a love relationship with his torture victim. And it's going to be, I hope it will be supported, because after the performance what we would like to is putting Anders, that the whistleblower name is, and his actually now friend, but victim from his torture, not his torture directly, but him allowing the torture, will stand on stage together and will ask and be communicating openly and freely and with great honesty with everybody in the audience. So
where can we get information about this coming production? Because you have to be very visible, so a lot of people come and watch.
We try, but we're still working to get the money together. So I'm talking about something that are not there yet, but we will put it out. But yeah, we are. But our homepage, theatersolaris.dk, is holding all the information.
We have talked, and you have also instantly talked about refugees, asylum seeker, and how Denmark is treating them. And so we are coming to the politics now. You have been hosting many asylum seekers and refugees at your own home. Some people will find it a little naive.
Well, that's just because they are maybe not willing to see what the real world is about. If you want to sit and die slowly in front of your television, then feel free and be welcome. But if you want to be the difference in the world and do something and not just talk about yourself as a Christian, merciful being on this earth, then you have to do it. And this is not very special or very naive or very anything. It's basically common sense. We can ask our grandfathers or grandmothers what they did under the Second World War, and a lot of them would answer, of course, you house people who has no place to live. It is for me not something special. Okay. This is normal.
I'm sure you have been watching all this discussion, the new laws, the tone in the debate about refugees and asylum seekers. And Denmark has been criticized all over the world. I was in Brussels a few days back and in the parliament, and I met the vice president of EU Commission, and I can tell you the thing which have been said about Denmark, I felt ashamed, But can you give some good advice to our politician at least, and decision maker, so they can understand what they're doing is wrong?
I am the very wrong person to ask, because I will ask any political people being in power right now that are putting people in war, killing our young people, treating people like animals, to step off and go another place to get the power greedy hunger game going on, because you are not allowed to play with real people's life any longer. We are not going to allow it any longer. We have a lot of people waking up now from your manipulation. So my advice is, if you don't want to be in a lot of trouble, step down of the chairs and let real people coming to power so they can change this world.
But you know that they won't step down.
Well, they'll have to, because they are from an old world, and this old world will break up now.
So you feel that there is now movement in Denmark,
Yes.
of people's movement, who are really now
Yes.
saying to the politician, hey, this what you're doing is wrong?
There's a world thing going on. You are a part of it yourself.
Yeah.
Traveling around, giving information. We are a lot of people that are listening to what you do and what other people are doing. So we are starting to become one big world. So these lies and manipulation are going to have a lot of trouble surviving in the coming new times.
Okay. You talked about being one world. It's a very beautiful concept, you know. Do you think, and hand on your heart, that Denmark maybe in coming future will become an inclusive society?
Well, they have no choice. I really believe they have no choice, because see what happened when you have a lot of refugees just walking the streets. The problems are so close to us now that we cannot ignore it. We cannot play it's a Hollywood movie going on. It's outside our doorstep. So we have to change. This is not a question, this is a fact, if you ask me.
No, of course. My last question, you as a theater person and an artist can see all those things so clearly. Why politicians can't see those things clearly?
Because politicians are maybe not politicians for what they should be. They are people who want to have a nice salary and wants to have a career, and they just chose the wrong place to do it. And these people, I don't vote any longer. It's a statement for me not to vote. I totally boycott everything that has something to do with politicians, because I don't see them doing the job.
But if people like you won't vote, then we will not get good politicians then.
Well, if there were a lot of me, they would be forced to step down, because nobody would vote on them.
With these wonderful advice, Sananda, thank you very much for coming. It's
Bashy.
always a pleasure to listen to you. And I would like to also say to my viewers that what Sananda says and what stands for, it is also your voice. Until next week, take good care of yourself.